So by way of introduction, I want us to know that more than 70% of the rural populace in Nigeria are in various forms of agricultural activities prior to discovery of oil. And the non-oil sector as at 1963-64 was responsible for as much as 65% of Nigerian GDP. But along the line, this changed when the oil boom came. And then the economy of Nigeria now became dependent on the oil boom. The effect of this was the significant drop of non-oil contributions to our national GDP. When we say non-oil sector, I think we are referring to sectors outside the petroleum and gas sector. Aside guaranteeing food security, employment, resource development, and capacity to provide inputs to large enterprises, these are some of the things that the non-oil sector can do to the economy. But we decided to pay more attention to oil while we have all sorts of other natural resources that we should have paid a lot of attention. So reports from our recent survey showed severe fluctuations in non-oil contributions. In the 80s, it was 40.2%. Between 1980 and 1985, 42%. 1995, it came down to 35.27%. And then between 2008 to 2014, it went as high as 48%. For sustainable development to happen, it's obvious that we cannot continue to depend on exogenous factors that are not predictable. What are some of the key non-oil sectors that we should note? Wholesale retail, agric and agribusiness. This is where we have the majority. Construction, telecommunication, financial services, manufacturing, and a host of other ones listed here. Transportation, R&D, information and communication technology. All these areas can boost the economy, but we choose to pay all our attention to oil, which can all know that as at present, the fortune from oil is dwindling. Nigeria's position in global economy, according to 2020 Economic Complexity Index, currently 26th largest economy in terms of GDP in US dollars, 50 largest in total exports, 48 largest in total imports, and then 148 in terms of GDP per capita, according to if it as denominated in the US dollar. Our top product exports from Nigeria. We still have petroleum as the highest, which is up to about 30 billion US dollar. Petroleum gas, which is also related to oil, is $5.89 billion. Scrap vessels, 1.29 billion. Special purpose ships, 775 million. Refined petroleum. These are all oil related. Then the countries we are exporting to, what are the size in terms of exports in dollars? To India, $46.27 billion. Spain, $4.8 billion. China, $2.54 billion. Netherlands, 2.24, South Africa, 2.17. And this is largely in terms of oil exports. What have we been importing? In 2020, we also import refined petroleum worth about $7.75 billion. Vehicles, $3.03 billion. Wheat, $2.15 billion. Packaged medicaments, $1.38 billion. Telephones, $771 million US dollars. Most imports are from China, Netherlands, USA, India, and Belgium. China tops the list with 17.4 billion US dollars. So what is the current non-oil trend as far as the economy is concerned? Non-oil exports have steadily declined over time. That is the true position of things. It reduced by 39% within a decade, according to National Bureau of Statistics Analysis. There was a total of 4.194 trillion non-oil exports recorded in 2021, and 6.914 trillion non-oil exports in 2012. In 2012, we're going back those time just to know what it is vis-a-vis what is happening currently. In 2012, Nigerian total exports amounted to 22.446 trillion. Crude alone accounted for 15.531 trillion out of that 22. No, I'm still on that page. So non-oil accounted for only 6.914 trillion out of the 22.4 trillion. So we can see the disparity. So in 2021, total exports were estimated at 19.057 trillion. Non-oil segment made up to just 4.194 trillion out of 19.05 trillion. That's just 20.07%. So this shows us that there is a lot of gap. So the level of growth of the non-oil exports and the shares of its contributions to the nation's total exports over the period revealed that the non-oil exports total share of total exports was highest at 30.8% in 2012 and lowest is as low as 11.86% in 2015. Comparative analysis. Nigeria's non-oil export is insignificant when compared with some other countries. Nigeria's non-oil export earnings are significant when compared with other emerging economies. Insignificant, sorry. Total value of Nigerian non-oil exports in 2021 was $10.083 billion US dollars. The above was realized from more than 20 items exported to various countries in 2021, which is still abysmally low. Bangladesh, a country once touted as poor, exported knit and woven garments alone estimated at about 30 billion in the first 7 months of 2021. This is according to the country's Export Promotion Bureau. India and other emerging markets exported textiles and apparel worth 29.8 billion between April and December 2021. Vietnam, another emerging markets, and 57.54 billion naira from export of phones and accessories in 2021, according to the General Department of Vietnam Customs in the country. Argentina earned nearly 21 billion from export of delivery trucks, soybean meal, according to Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development. So we can see, going through this comparative analysis, that our non-oil exports is still very, very low, and we have to take deliberate attempts to make sure that we the ante. What are the challenges of MSMEs in Nigeria? According to our recent survey, why our MSMEs are not competitive? Majorly is lack of access to finance. The finance is not as if funds are not there, but they are not accessible. There are a lot of Herculean bureaucratic bottlenecks that SMEs have to, even if they will access. Banks don't want to touch them. So even when they have good products, they cannot go into the export market because they cannot access finance. Most of them believe that their problem is money. They don't want to invest in training. They don't want to build their capacity. They just assume once I have money, I can go into business. The issue of lack of training and capacity building, it's about 15.3% based on the survey. Weak infrastructure, 14.2%. I actually feel that this will be higher than this now. But as at the time the survey was done, this based on responses from respondents. And then inconsistent policy account for 12.5%. So we asked them, what are the top priority areas of assistance that SMEs require to make them more competitive? Majorly, there are 16.5% says is adequate power and water supply. And we also know this. These days is even more difficult. The power is not there. When people that are into production want to even serve as a local government on their own, now they cannot even afford diesel. Our MSMEs have to provide water, provide diesel, at times even provide roads to where they are doing their production. So it's really not easy for them to be competitive. Financing and financial support, 15.6%. Reduced tax. We know the issue of multiplicity of tax. It's part of the problem that MSMEs are facing. Security is a major challenge. Good transport facilities is a challenge. People cannot even get transport from farm gates to where they are going to access markets. Regular fuel supply at full rates. This is related to the issue of power. Provision of infrastructure, the power and water supply I mentioned earlier, it's still part of infrastructural challenge. So now what is the agency doing to mitigate some of the known challenges of MSMEs? We don't want to just assume that we know it all. So what we try to do, so that we will not be rolling out intervention programs from the supply end. We want to know what is happening at the demand end. So we instituted a national MSME competitiveness research, which we are doing in conjunction with Faith Foundation. So we want to be doing this annually. So based on this, we will be able to know empirically which areas that we need to give focus for MSMEs. We also, in the past 2 years now, we established a department to cater for agribusiness. So we established this department so that the departments can now focus mainly on agribusiness issues, because we know that majority of our MSMEs, more than 80%, are in agribusiness. Even raw materials come from agribusiness and all that. So the departments now have a lot of programs, part of which I will mention as we go on, because we believe that if we are talking non-oil sector, agri is one of the major areas that should be given priority. And then cluster support program, it's not only garments. We are looking at clusters that are in existence, organic clusters that we are going to support. So the idea is to provide them common facilities to see how we can impact on their production, to see how we can look at their packaging and bring in experts. And then if they will need to outsource, and then to see how, if they are in a cluster, they can source raw materials together and then source market together. So these are some of our areas of focus. We are repurposing our industrial development centers. The agency has 23 industrial development centers scattered across the country. Most of these centers are there with large expanse of land that are already being encroached. The idea now is to move in entrepreneurs into those IDCs, and they will be using the place as workspace. And then we provide them common facilities. And in addition to that, we are working with the Ministry of Science and Tech to see if we can have incubation centers within those IDCs. So we'll have incubation centers. We're going to have innovation hubs, where young people can come in and innovate new businesses. And then we now have workspaces for SMEs in those IDCs. And we're already talking to some states, but even pending that, we will make sure that we allocate space to entrepreneurs. They will move in, and then we create some special purpose vehicle for the maintenance and running of the common facilities that will be in those IDCs. Matching fund, through the department that is in charge of agribusiness, last year we instituted a matching fund program where the agency will bring funds, and then we match with a willing bank. And then we now defray the interest from our own fund. And then those in agribusiness can access between 2 and 5 million to possibly do production or to add value. But this is mainly for people in agribusiness. The fund portfolio as at date is about 500 million, but we are talking to some other banks. Now we are working with Jais Bank, and we have Fidelity on board, IBTC on board. We are also discussing with Zenith. So when we have enough banks, and then we believe that moving forward, because we are still largely dependent on budget. So it is what we can do is based on what government gives us. But as time goes on, we'll be able to generate some revenue, and then we'll also be able to increase our fund portfolio. But the matching fund program has started, and for now, like I said, it's strictly for agribusiness. The agency has a talent hunt program where we look at sectors and then we do talent hunt. And then successful young entrepreneurs through the talent hunt are supported with some money. And some of them, we will be able to take them even to export level. We have the MSMEs Export Facilitation Program, which we are jointly running with the Nigerian Export Promotion Council. This program has been on for a while. These are also areas where we think we can sensitize non-oil exporters, and then we'll be able to network with NEXIM so that some of them can also access NEXIM facilities. We have the One Local Government, One Product program. This we have been to virtually every local government in Nigeria where we identify cooperatives, and we try to, the cooperatives that are in the same value chain, we try to assist them to automate what they are doing. For example, if you're in oil production, what we do is if you are producing 10 gallons a day, we try to now jointly identify machines that can make you produce like 20, 30 gallons a day. And then we identify markets for you. We provide the machine and we also give you some working capital, and then you pay back 70%. We write off 30% of the facility so that we can take that 70% into some other cooperatives. But the idea is to look for products with competitive advantage, competitive and comparative advantage over some other local governments, so that we are not repeating what we are doing in one local government in another local government. We have the conditional grant scheme, which assists nano entrepreneurs. We want to see how we can inject little funds into their business, and then we now train them. And then if they perform well, they will now be able to access loans, which the agency can guarantee. And then we believe by doing that, most of them are in agribusiness. So if we encourage them, at least they will be able to provide and produce raw materials and be able to expand their farming activities. We've been organizing fairs, and recently we signed MOU with Export Promotion Council to start doing regional fairs. And we intend in the next few weeks to go into the Gambia, and then we'll start going to other West African states, and then eventually maybe go to other African states, so that people with exportable products will take them out of Nigeria. We assist them to, so we believe all these will be able to ginger non-oil exports. We also have a program where we assist business membership organizations to access some little grants. So we train them, so we call it grant and growth support for these business membership organizations. So we inject some funds into them, and then we assist them, we train them, build their capacity, and see how that can assist them to, be able to be more competitive in their businesses. And then we have the National Policy on MSMEs, which currently is being implemented across the country. But what we are doing differently now is to pay more attention to implementation. An issue of non-oil exports is one of the major priority areas in the implementation plan. Currently, we are being supported by GIZ to see that we are able to implement it to the letter. We also have focal persons from all MDAs that have one thing or the other to do with MSMEs as part of the focal group for the implementation. So we believe with this, at state level, we have state implementation councils. So if we meet periodically, we'll be able to brainstorm, we'll be able to use that platform to solve some of the problems of MSMEs. Because in the states, the state council is being chaired by a governor or representative, so this means at top policy level, at top implementation level, we can get government involved. We have the National Business Skills Development Initiatives, where we train MSMEs and then we give them starter packs. We believe that all these can stimulate non-oil exports. We also believe in partnerships. And when I took the mantle of leadership of the agency, part of my resolve is to make sure that we work with relevant MDAs. I will go begging when necessary to make sure that we stoop to conquer. The most important thing is for MSMEs, for us to change the narrative in the ecosystem. So I believe working with other MDAs, let our work dovetail instead of working in silos. It will really help us to stimulate non-oil exports. And currently, like I said, we have signed MOU with NEPC. We are talking to NAFDAC to see how we can play advocacy role for MSMEs. Same thing with Standard Organization of Nigeria, CAC, we are working together, NEXIM, and a host of other relevant agencies that have one thing or the other to do with MSMEs. Next slide. What do we, so some of these are a number of our programs that we believe in the not too distant future able to enhance our MSME competitiveness. And then in addition to those programs, we want to stop issues of building capacities in the classroom. So we are going to designate all our state officers as extension workers. They will go out to go and provide business development support services for MSMEs. They will visit clusters, visit markets, talk to SMEs. What are your problems? How can we fill the gap? They will look at their products. These products are good, but you need to do this so that you'll be able to be export ready. So that we are putting more attention to provision of business development services. So we are going to, we already have a platform where MSMEs are registering. We have the MSME mass registration platform. So as of today, over 2 million MSMEs have registered on that platform, and we've given them unique number. So we now get our staff to go out to visit those people that are registered. More people are still registering. The platform is open. We have also just finished putting together a platform called Credit Information Portal. So on that portal, we will have the banks there so that if you want to access credit, you can go on that portal and see which bank has the best funding window for you. So that credit portal will also allow the banks to upload their funding windows and their terms on that portal. So eventually, SMEs can actually even apply for funds through those portals, because we'll be working closely with the banks to make sure that at least we put the right information out there, because a number of MSMEs just fear. They don't even know now that some banks have non-collateral loans. A number of MSMEs don't know that some banks now have loans with single-digit interest rates. So that is why the gap that the credit information portal will be filling. So what are we suggesting as quick wins for non-oil exports? And where we would like to stimulate a lot of artisanal and micro people who will be able to key into some of these areas. So we are suggesting that the deliberate efforts of state governments to ease access to land, because a lot of people want to go into farming. They want to go into cocoa plantation. They want to go into cashew production, but there is no access to farmland. And even where there's access, it's always very expensive to clear the farmland. So if we can stimulate and play advocacy role for government to put up a plan to assist serious farmers to clear the land for them as a support, it will make a lot of people go into production of cash crops, which will really, really assist in terms of adding value and in terms of exports. Provision of common processing facilities, I mentioned this earlier, that we are trying to see what we can do with clusters to give them processing facility. We believe that this is a low-hanging fruit. We also want to stimulate a lot of off-takers. We want to sensitize a lot of, this is going to be a PPP thing. We're already meeting with some other agencies to see how to get an off-taker scheme off the ground, where proper off-taker scheme will be able to take care of when farmers produce, there should be off-takers to take it from them, and then they will also assist them to go into more production. And then, but the issue of insecurity is a big problem. People cannot even go to farms these days. So this one is beyond us, but we believe that the government is doing all it can to stem the tide in terms of insecurity across the country. Strengthening of export processing zones. This will also work with relevant agencies. Awareness creation on export standard and potentials. Our export facilitation scheme program is taking care of this, but we will do more awareness and we will try to see how we can improve standards. Improvement in infrastructure. This is what government should do so that MSMEs can produce and be competitive with what is obtainable globally. Because the problem is that the cost of production in Nigeria is so high that you cannot even take it for exports. You won't be able to compete with those producing outside the country. Solid mineral is an area that Nigeria can invest in. There's virtually no local government in Nigeria that doesn't have one solid mineral or the other. There is a gold belt across the whole country. But the problem is getting to those mineral sites is a problem. There was a time we are trying to stimulate artisanal miners so that we can have people come in group, but it's always a problem to even get roads to get to the mining site. It's a problem, but it's an area that is there. It's a quick win. If we can put together artisanal miners and then there's a coordinated effort to add value to solid minerals in the country instead of taking it out raw. This will really help us in terms of non-oil exports. Provision of special incentives for exports. This is very important. And then research for development of agri value chain so that people can produce things that will be needed in terms of exports. And then by way of conclusion, we believe that non-oil export is about competitiveness. And this is why we are committed to enhancing the competitiveness of our MSMEs so that they can be able to be competitive and be able to take advantage of the export market. We know the country, the market is large in the country, but a lot of our MSMEs are already doing backyard exports to some other countries, but this has to be coordinated, and then when their competitiveness is improved, they wouldn't be doing it through the backyard. And then competitiveness borders on price and quality, which is still a challenge to our MSMEs, mainly because of infrastructural challenges, which I had mentioned earlier. The cost of doing business in Nigeria is still a challenge. I already mentioned this, thereby not making MSMEs competitiveness enough because their products, cost of production is so high, so they cannot compete favorably with the outside world. So we believe that CBN needs to creatively support MSMEs in access to financial resources so that will be targeted at exports, not generally. There should be a special fund that SMEs can access when they want to go into export, so that we can train them, build their capacity to be export ready, and then they will be able to access such funds. Then adequate infrastructure, friendly port operations, and friendly regulations, especially at the port, are very instrumental to increasing non-oil exports in Nigeria. And then we should also take advantage of the African Free, the ACTA. So this is something that Nigeria is still not up and doing about. I believe that this is an area we should key in now. And then if we take advantage, we'll be able to increase our non-oil export, especially within the African network. And then lastly, deliberate efforts to stimulate non-oil exports by government and the organized private sector. This will go a long way to boost the economy. The agency is committed to all efforts geared towards promotion of non-oil exports, and we welcome ideas so that we, like I said, would like to work with as many people, especially both public and public-private, to see that we boost non-oil export in Nigeria. Thank you very much.